As you listen to this, my son David is developing his leadership skills and deepening his relationship with Jesus while going on the adventure of a lifetime at Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. He's camping, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, and hiking in beautiful Western North Carolina. All the while, he's building lifelong friendships while learning to sift through the lens of God's Word all the messages our culture throws his way. Do you want your teenager to go on the adventure of a lifetime this summer while developing their leadership skills and deepening their relationship with Jesus? This is your last opportunity to sign up for Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. They have 12-day sessions in June and July and a week-long session in August. To learn more, go to theexcelcamp.org. That's THEEXCEL camp.org.
Did you know that up to 40% of autistic children are non-speaking, yet they still have so much to say? In a world that often equates communication with words, we can miss the beautiful and powerful ways our children are already speaking through gestures, connection, and presence. I sit down with Charlotte, a remarkable mama raising 2 non-speaking boys and twin girls, to talk about what communication really looks like in a neurodivergent family. Charlotte shares her honest journey, the challenges, the growth, and the everyday of learning to connect with her children beyond spoken language. Whether you're raising a nonverbal child, exploring what AAC is, or just trying to better understand the unique ways of communicating, this episode is packed with encouragement and practical tools that can start you on a great journey. This conversation will remind you that communication isn't just words, it's actually about relationship. It's about noticing, slowing down, and celebrating the small wins that are actually really big ones. You'll walk away with a fresh hope, some practical ideas, and a deep sense that you are seen and supported. You're never alone on this journey. So grab your drink and let's dive into today's conversation. Okay, Charlotte, you have 4 children. 2 of them have different styles of communication. Can you talk about how you communicate in your household?
Yeah, I mean, I communicate in lots of different ways in the household because we have 6 people in total in the house and we all have different ways to communicate. So for us, it all looks a bit different. So Jude generally communicates through leading. That's kind of where he's always been with. And certain noises, expressions, I understand what they mean being his mum. So that's how Jude communicates, often by sort of leading you to what he needs or pushing or pointing now to things. So we have progressed massively with that, which is fantastic. And Tommy communicates through AAC devices. He also understands language very well. So if I kind of say, Tommy, go and get your shoes now, we've got to a stage where Tommy goes and gets his shoes. If Tommy wants to communicate with us, he generally kind of either leads us or uses his AAC device to kind of tell us what he needs. He's also got some small words coming now. So if Tommy wants to say no, we get a no. And that's exactly how it sounds. So that's great. And with Tommy, a massive part of his communication is actually hand gestures. So thumbs up means yes, pointing down means no. And they're things that actually seem really simple, but make huge differences. You know, Tommy, do you want to go to bed? No. Tommy, do you want to go to the park? Yes. And they're really simple things, but they work so well. Tommy also communicates very much with kind of his behavior as well. So that is another way that we know what Tommy kind of needs and wants. The girls are verbal. So they communicate with their mouths, and boy, do they communicate with their mouths. And that's been a whole new journey for me because, you know, I started my parenting journey with non-speaking or pre-speaking or non-verbal. There's so many different words that you should or shouldn't say towards it. And then suddenly, you know, getting kind of nearly 10 years without having any language, suddenly these 2 people at the same time enter my life who are why, mom. And that strangely has taken getting used to. I can't explain it because it's something that you hope and dream and wish for forever, but you come so climatized to what and where you are, that when that changes, it takes time to adjust to that. And I'm still adjusting to that.
Yeah, that's so true. I hadn't thought about it kind of being like you said, kind of a shock having children who are verbal after, years of not having children that, are verbal pre-speaking. So yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But how have you learned? I know you talked about kind of Tommy with the pointing. We do that in our house as well. But how have you learned kind of about their communication styles? Because they're all very different. Like over time, have you just tried to re-emphasize things, or have they?
I think a lot of it is kind of, child-led from the beginning, and what's comfortable and what tiny things work at the beginning you run with and you stick with. And you build on those. So, leading has always been the beginning stages. And I think most people's journeys start with leading, leading you to normally the cupboard where the biscuits live, generally starts that way. And then from there, you progress with that. And I think that's kind of how you learn. You start with what works, you keep going with that. And then when you feel comfortable, then you start pushing for more. And that's where it came from. And for Tommy, it was, Jude Peck's was too difficult for Jude. The anxiety of having to make that choice became actually quite disruptive for him. It deregulated him more. It made the behavior more challenging. So we knew that wasn't right for Jude. So we had to stop that, because if you're going to try something that's going to cause you more stress and then your child more stress, it's not either the right time or it's not the right method. So for us, we stopped that. With Tommy, PECS was more achievable. Choice cards, now a next board, having visual timetables was really important to him. And it worked, and he was comfortable with it. So again, we kept kind of, right, this is working, let's build with that. And then that's when the AAC site, became opens up your world, because there wasn't AAC. It was just old clipboards full of loads of tiny pictures. And you'd have to rip them off, put them on the Velcro strip. And actually, it was a horrible way to communicate. It was stressful for me, stressful for him. So when technology caught up and there was this device that had all these tabs and buttons and he could use it, it was really powerful. And it made a big difference to him. But with Tommy, he still likes to go to the old school, easy, classic methods. And I like that. We do a lot of choices with Tommy, and it's through hands. So it will be, Tommy, would you like chicken nuggets or sausages? And he will tap the choice. And I do that daily. It's still there. It's very easy to use. You can use it anywhere you go with new things, like, Tommy, do you want vanilla ice cream or strawberry ice cream? And he makes, very clear choices doing that. And I love that method. We do it all the time. And my hands are always going to be with me. And because he understands language, that has been really probably my most favorite form of communication.
I'm just thinking about that even for ourselves, like thinking about choices. Our son, needs choices, but can't have too many choices, so we do.
Two. Always two.
Yeah, just two. And then again, it's that kind of physical touch of the hand. So they're connecting their brain to it, I guess, if that makes sense. Because I know he'll just say yes sometimes. And I'm like, what are you saying yes to? Like, what are you, what?
If you have to push, because he would touch both first. You'd like, do you want strawberry or vanilla? He would touch. So it takes, again, everything takes time. And I think that's the thing, Greer. I don't know if you feel this, but being a parent of a child with, additional needs is exhausting, because everything takes a long time and you have to bear with it. You have to keep going. If school are trying something, you've got to be prepared to take it home and try it, and not just expect them to do all the hard work and magically one day they're going to come home and use the toilet or, speak and I think that for me, parenting has been exhausting, because I don't always have the energy to keep pushing the way you need to push with AAC, and sometimes my mind just says, I just need simple. And I think that's why alongside the AAC, I still keep it really simple. We use our hands for choices. We, use yes and no. And we still keep those simple things because I think sometimes we need to keep it simple for us as much as them.
Yeah. There's such a good point of, I agree. It's hard work. I
It's
am
real hard
exhausted at the end of the day. Like I even now I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah, today has been hard. And so
it is hard. I mean, this morning I've got to get this one here, that one there. I have to go to work. I've got a full-time job. And then after work, I have to pick. One was staying at school because they had football club. The other was coming home, but only for 10 minutes because then they had tennis somewhere else in a different town. And then I had to go and get the one back from football. And then Tommy's buses. And then I had to get them all back. And then brownies. And then, then we're here. And I'm like, my goodness, and I don't know why I'm not really skinny because I still managed to eat all in between all this time. It's just like, ugh.
Yes. No, I hear you. Just, it's the constant. And like you said, that if school's doing one thing, you can't just leave. Like there are some things that we can leave at school, that's for school time. But overall, when it comes to kind of life skills, you need to also do them at home.
And 90% of what special schools do is life skills. It is those things. And I think the schools support us so much. If we're struggling with toothbrushing at home, they will say, pack a toothpaste and a toothbrush, bring it into school, and every day we'll work with that. So I think as parents, we've got to push that too. With what they're working with, we need to work equally as hard. But it's difficult. It is. Even, the girls who go to mainstream, them doing homework, I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? But actually, it is so that they build confidence to learn more in the classroom. It is important. And I get that. And I get it all. But sometimes it's hard to get it when you're really tired.
Yeah. Could you talk a little about what I'm going to say that AAC, right?
AAC?
ACC. Yes, AAC. Thank you. Sorry. All the acronyms and
I know there's many.
My brain. Especially because it's like, sometimes I have to, so being from America but living in the UK, there are certain words and acronyms that are used in the US but not in the UK and vice versa. And so I'm always like, okay, where am I and what am I trying to say?
I'm not even going to say because I don't know. You need someone like really educated in the AAC to do it. I just call it AAC. Yeah. And I know the words and then I forget them because for me it's just, it's Tommy's talking tablet, and that's what he does. And I love it, but I'm probably not the best person to advocate on it because, like I said, I do think it's really powerful. It makes huge differences to some people's lives. To ours, it does make a difference, but there's so many other things that we do that make the difference too. So as much as, I love the AAC and I think they're amazing and they're a game changer and they're so powerful, you probably, you need someone who's like really into AAC and they only use AAC. I'm that bad that I have to like phone James and say, James, how do I load a new like conversation card on this? I can't do it, because I'm not very good with technology. So but I do love them.
That's good. It's
not a person for it.
From what I understand, they're pictures but you can create sentences from them. Is that right? Is that what
so I can explain sort of how it works.
An overview, because I'm aware that some people don't know anything about them. So
so it's an iPad. So Tommy's version is an iPad. There is talking boxes, but we have an iPad. And in that, we have an app which is called Pro2Go. That's the app that we use. And then there is, I guess, kind of tiny little tiles that have symbols that represent food, like breakfast, dinner, lunch, mum, dad. You can also even put, actual photographs there. So my picture could be me, or you could just use a standard, mum picture. So you can really go as far as you want with it. You can use on ours, you can load real pictures. You can, get McDonald's arches, which is a big one on ours. That is a go-to pressing button. So, and within that, you have lots of pages. So the pages will be kind of people, places, food, motions, feeling. So then he knows how to navigate kind of, Mummy, I would like McDonald's. Please. And we make sure there's a please button in there and thank you button. And, I am feeling sad. You can have, sentences like that. Mummy, I want to go home. Mummy, I want to go to school. So that you can kind of go as far, you can communicate any, sentence that you need to. It's really powerful for that.
Yeah, that's cool. I know very little, so that is helpful to just understand a bit more about it. How have you're talking about it has like a feelings section. How have you made connections with your kids who aren't verbally speaking?
Yeah, I think sometimes the connection can be deeper because there is no words. So, I guess it's a bit like, I don't have animals, but I have friends that are so connected to their dogs that they know when the dog is really poorly or not feeling well because you have such a strong bond and connection. And for me, it's a little bit like that. You're so in tune with each other. I know that, okay, he's looking really anxious. The breathing's changing. His facial expressions are changing. His, movements are changing. Everything that you look at, and I think that's the problem. We've become so desensitized to looking at the actual being of someone because we've got phones going and, TVs and things or too much language now that you stop looking at the real simple things I can tell when Jude's sad just by his eyes. His eyes are so powerful. When he's happy, his eyes are sparkly and bright and big. When he's sad, they are misty and glazed and subdued. And I think I'm so connected now to both of them on movements, even breath, just their eyes, their vocal sounds, how they are. So connection is much to be seen if you just look hard enough,
Yeah, that's so true. So we have a dog. We have 2 dogs. And using that example, of course, I'm not comparing any children to dogs, but you know what I mean? Just that example, that is true.
It's a good example.
But that's such a good example. And thinking through actually, even for my son, he is verbal, but just, I know, like you were saying about his, Tommy's eyes, I was, as you were saying that, I thought, oh yeah, our son gives away a lot in his eyes. If he is frustrated, it's in his eyes or facial expression. So it's a good reminder, Absolutely. Like you said, to look at the person and not the distractions around us that are so easy to do.
I think bringing it back to basics. If you think years ago before dating apps and, all of these things, we used to go to bars or restaurants and you would know if a guy was looking at you in a way that he was attracted to you by his body language, by his facial expressions. And I think we've stopped looking hard enough at those things. But if you have no other way to communicate, you connect back to that. And I think that is, people need to look harder again and say, okay, people don't need to talk to kind of be together and understand each other.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks. Smooth, bright, deliciously crafted. Introducing Starbucks Sansera Blend, their smoothest, brightest coffee yet. It's a new kind of light roast, one that's packed with so much flavor, it shines no matter how you brew it. So go ahead and try it hot, iced, black, or with a splash of creamer. Visit athome.starbucks.com/Sansera-blend-coffee to bring Starbucks Sansera Blend home.
How do people around you, maybe family, friends, how do they support you as a family who communicates differently?
I think it's been difficult in some areas. I think mainly with more grandparent style, that was harder journey because they're very old school and autism wasn't really a thing. And they find that harder to make that connection than the more classic, grandchild that, go and kiss nanny. Okay, love you, nanny. Gives a kiss. So that became harder. And I think in some senses, definitely for my dad, and I'm sure I know he wouldn't mind me saying, he's found it very, very hard to connect with Jude and Tommy because of that. And I think unless you invest time into Jude and Tommy, you won't connect with them. It's not going to happen. You need to really put time and effort into them, or you won't be able to understand them, because it takes time to get to know someone.
Yeah, that's really true. That time and that connection, going back to the dating app. That's I feel like dating, I mean, I was never on a dating app, but I feel like what I know of dating apps, they're quick decisions, they're quick things. Whereas in real life, it takes time, it takes connection, it takes, I don't know. The word more comes to mind, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's a good point. How could someone who, maybe has a family member, or maybe they have a good friend whose child is nonverbal, how could they support kind of the parent or the adult who's maybe supporting that child?
At least show willing that you want to understand and get to know how they parent and what works and what doesn't. And or make it at least feel like a safe space that they can come to you for help and support, because that definitely opens that up. And be like, well, look, I've tried this and it's not working. And good friends will go away and research stuff and go, right, I found this, or I followed this story, and oh my God, they're having huge success. And I think sometimes we don't have the energy to do all the research. So if you've got friends out there championing that and helping you, and you trust your friends, and you say, well, if she's just, followed this, page on Instagram and she thinks it's great, I'll check it out. And then from there, you think, okay, I like that style. That's something I'd like to try. And it may work, it may not. But just having that version of, someone saying, look, you don't want to be looking for all the answers, but I might just have one that you like.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I think about the friends who've sent me things, articles, or like you said, Instagram accounts. Like, it's made me feel seen. If that, like knowing that they saw something, go, oh, I think that would be helpful for them. Now, have I followed every account they've sent me to? No, because some of them, like, I don't need to, or whatever. Like, but it's knowing that they thought of me and feeling seen, that they thought I would at least enjoy that or find it helpful, or
that they actually care, that they want to be part of your journey. And I think sometimes in the beginning stages, we lock a lot of people out because we're not really ready to kind of accept the journey ourselves, or we don't understand it. So sharing that with our friends, we don't know how to share it yet. So, when your friends are trying to, like you said, be there and making you feel seen, let them do that, because I've learned that when you have support or you have someone that's trying, once they do achieve and get in through the cracks that you're so desperately trying to fill in the beginning, it's so much nicer and so much easier. And just having that friend that you can text and say, you know what, I feel shit today, or Charlotte, how are you? And I say, you know what, I'm not okay today. And rather than being that same friend that you go, yeah, I'm fine, and you're not, but once you have a friend that you allow in, you can speak your truth with them. And that is so powerful. We need that as women. We need that because we're trying to be strong for the kids. We're trying to be strong for our partners. We're trying to be strong for the outside world. And sometimes we just need that friend that we can say, you know what, I'm not okay today. I will be tomorrow, but today I'm not. Or, I'm on year 8 and I still haven't been called mum. And actually today, even though it's 8 years, today it really hurt. But yesterday I was fine. But today I'm not fine, because it may have been a tiny trigger at the supermarket that you saw a little boy running up to his mum and saying, oh, mummy, I want this. And the tiny things can trigger you. And I think for me, it's so important that you feel all those feels so they don't repress in. And then you get to a point in life where you become angry or sad, too sad. Be sad, but not too sad. Life's too short to be too sad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I think, I'm still working out, even in our journey, of those little triggers. Like you said, kind of that can happen anywhere. That can happen anytime. And just knowing there's that kind of sadness with it and that grief, but also knowing there's so much joy that they have brought to you. It's just this kind of weird balance of of those things, but also, like you said, sitting in that sadness for a time. I don't think we should wallow in our sadness. We should sit in our sadness. But yeah, it's something that I don't think I even thought about when I accepted my son's diagnosis. I think I thought, okay, I've done it, move on. Not move on, but do you know what I mean? Just that, like, I've done my grieving.
And I think for so many parents, they've spent so long trying to get the diagnosis that they forget about actually what that means when you do get it. And I've said before that, for us, we didn't have to wait years for diagnosis. We had a diagnosis when he was 19 months old. He was a baby. We didn't know what person he would be. And in some senses, we didn't get to learn who he was before autism was our world. But I think, like you said, you fight so hard for something because you want the support and you want to know that you're doing the right thing. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, okay, now I'm just living with autism. What is that? Yeah. What does it mean? How is this going to change my life? And you don't know till you get there. And you don't know till you watch other friends go and do things that you can't do. And it makes you feel sad. Or, you're watching, your friend who's got a child the same age as you and their child's going off and doing new challenges and adventures and your child's not there yet. And those things take time, because we all have the same heart, we all crack in the same places. And each time a day is difficult, it cracks a bit more. But it's finding the right people to, come in and go, oh, don't worry about that crack. We'll just fill it, and fill it with love. And then it doesn't open again for a while. And that's what we need. And that's why our community is amazing, right? Because we can kind of go online and find someone that we can relate to, or someone says something and you go, oh my God, it makes sense. I get it. That's perfect. I'm using that and I'm doing that.
Yeah. And just knowing what you are doing to some people looks crazy. I remember, I've had several people call my life chaotic, but to me, it's not. It's my life. Like, this is what we do. And so to find people who get that, who understand the loud is normal, the meal times that we do and don't have are normal, just all of those things are normal. It's just such a relief to find and think.
Or the friend that knocks at the door and you don't feel embarrassed that the house isn't tidy, having those people are so valuable, or that I don't have to think, oh God, my friend Sam's coming over today. I've got to clean up everywhere and make it look really nice. Because no, Sam knows me and she knows our world. And she's not even looking at how many cups are on the side or, that the toys are still there from, the night before. She doesn't care. She wants to spend time with me because I have, I work really hard to still be me, and me is good. So
yeah, that's so true. And so important to make sure we have those people. It doesn't have to be a lot. I remember saying to a friend, like, I only really probably have 3 really close friends who know my in and out, if that makes sense.
Your deep and dark secrets.
Yeah, yeah. The ones I call them my jail friends, because if I were to go to jail, they'd be coming with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so that's all I really need. I have other friends who, I have like a wider circle as well of people I do.
But we all have different friends. We have friends that,
exactly,
have fun with, friends to cry with, friends that if you want to, have a laugh, you phone. And then the friend that just gets it. We have lots of versions. But like you said, in there, we have a pocket of friends that are kind of everything all wrapped up into one delicious.
Yeah.
I call them the purple quality streets because they've always been my favorite. So, all the quality streets are quite nice, but the purple ones, they're just a bit special. And we all need those purple quality streets.
That's a good example. I might steal that. It's a very delicious example, I should also add.
Exactly. Well, I always try and use chocolate as good examples. It works for me.
So you're raising some amazing kids, but you also are running, I guess. I don't know what the right word is.
Yeah, so I'm kind of, I guess, the manager / creative directory kind of. James, I work with James, who is my ex-husband, who has a big account called Stories About Autism, who's kind of the guru of the advocacy world. He sort of started championing 10 years ago, and he wanted to do something really special by opening a brand that represented neurodivergent people, by spreading, positive messages on cool clothes. He didn't want the t-shirts that you see on Amazon with a puzzle piece anymore. He was like, our community deserves better than this. They need cool colors, cool jumpers, cool hoodies. And I want to put some cool designs on it. And we spoke about it and I said, yeah, absolutely. You've got the community. You should go for it. And it kind of started like that. And then I've been working with him ever since. And it's beautiful. We have so much fun doing it. It's hard work because we have such a responsibility, I think, to get it right for our community and outside our community. We don't want just, neurodivergent people to buy our clothes. We want everyone to buy our clothes and be proud of, the world with different people in it. But I think most of all, it's never just been about selling jumpers or hoodies for us. We do a lot of giving back to community, to spreading awareness in the right places, working with the right people to make sure that the bigger picture is seen and making sure that the right people get to the right places. And that's what we want to do. We want to take it even further. And we've got big plans and lots of ambition. And hopefully we get there. I really hope we do. Because if we do, we've got so many beautiful and special ideas that could make huge differences to people's lives.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love the ethos, the dream behind it. And just that, like you said, it's not just the puzzle piece. It's not just another brand, that are selling jumpers. We do have a shop with a sensory room that you can come and spend hours in. And you don't have to buy anything. We'll make you tea, we'll make you coffee, sit down, tell us your journey, tell us how you are. Do you need support? Do you want support? Let the kids run around the shop. Let the kids go in the sensory room for an hour. Do they want an iPad to sit and watch? Do they need ear defenders? We want your experience with us to be, something that made you feel, oh, wow, I couldn't go into another shop and do that. We want you to come to us and we want you to know that you are seen, you are heard, and we want you to leave a friend. That's what we do. Yeah, that is so fun. We're not very close to each other, but I hope one day I get to come to the shop.
I hope you do. I'd love that.
Good to see it. I love to end the podcast with this question. So what do you want the world to know about neurodiverse people?
I think it's hard, isn't it? Because I want to say something that no one said before, but everyone's kind of said everything. But I think for me, and we spoke about it a bit earlier, I want you to look deeper into those people. Look at their eyes, look at their movements, and get to know the whole volume of those people. Don't just wait for words. Don't just wait for AAC buttons. Don't just wait for pecs or Makaton. Let's bring it back to basics and really feel in our hearts what someone's feeling. That's what I want people to do again.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a good answer. It's going deeper. It's going further as well.
Go deep, everyone. Let's go deep together.
Well, thank you so much, Charlotte, for being on the podcast, sharing so much about how your family communicates and the differences and the joys that go along with it. So thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure. It's been so nice to speak to you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, whether you are in full summer mode or you're starting to get there, a few more weeks left, guys, then you are going to need the sensory play guide. I know everyone's going to get overstimulated in the next few weeks. Routines are out the window, kids are home. Yeah, you're going to need this because this sensory guide is something that I have created to bring a bit of peace and a lot of fun. And it doesn't require a trip to the store or loads of prep. This guide is filled with easy sensory activities using things you already have at home. Think kitchen items, water play, creative ways to keep those little hands busy and those bodies regulated. It's perfect for those what do we do now moments when you need a breather and your child needs something to do. So go grab it. It is easy to download. There's a link down in the show notes. And yeah, why not bring 10 minutes of peace and let this be a summer sanity saver? Make sure you're following the show on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. When you hit follow, each new conversation drops straight into your feed. It's easy, automatic, and ready when you are. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.